It is not even.
Live from Phoenix, AZ. Here we have the Wholesale Real Estate Training. Sell a house, of course, Wholesale Real Estate Training. Number 137. Oh, I got my notes crossed up there. 137 on this. Wait, what the heck am I doing here? Oh, okay, I'm being a dummy. Got my notebooks crossed up. All right, sorry about that. Anyway, Wednesday, July the 8th, 2015. Beyond halfway through the year here, and time to finish off the latter half with a serious push to get you over the top of whatever your financial goals are, your freedom goals are, your whatever your goals are, and your life goals, your dream goals, all your goals. But yeah, if you don't push now, guess what? By the time 2016 rolls around and you look back, it's going to look the same as 2014. And what the heck were we here for?
Oh, well, happy. What is today, anyways?
Wednesday.
Wednesday? I don't know. It's just another day of the strong to me. And I love each and every day the same because every day, to me, is a new op day. So happy new op day once again, everybody, because there's a new opportunity in every day and every moment. And today is actually preparation day. So another one of my favorite days of the week. But welcome to the Hangout, Paul. Welcome everybody to the Hangout. It's it's not Freedom Friday. But that's my favorite day on these Hangouts is Freedom Friday because we talk about anything we want, which actually really today could be that day. So I don't know, Paul, if you already had some content planned or if you were just planning on going with the flow and seeing where things go this morning, or if you had a direction you were intending on taking us.
I didn't have any content planned because I was caught up this morning working with Kate, who is, for all of you out there, is our virtual assistant in the Philippines. And I was working with her right up until the bell of the previous hangout, so I didn't really have a chance to throw anything together for this, but that in and of itself is good content right there because we can talk about how Kate, our virtual assistant in the Philippines, is actually an entire system which we implement into our wholesale real estate business. And with the fact that your success in wholesale real estate is going to be a direct reflection of how many successfully operating systems you can create.
That is actually fantastic content for this hangout because systems actually, I brought it up a little bit this morning at the beginning of our last hangout that we do for our network marketing business was systems, and I walked up to the Circle K this morning to get a coffee. It's literally 2-3 minute walk from my house. You could be in and out of that store with a coffee in 2-3 minutes and then back to my house. So a total of 10 minutes to get a coffee, and it took me about 20 minutes, and I was actually late for the hangout. And I had jokingly said it was a lack of a properly implemented system. The fact that I get to the Circle K, and there's 4 employees. One of them is behind the counter. One of them is just walking around talking to customers, and 2 of them are stocking shelves when they have a line in the morning to the back of the store. And Paul said it's a lack of talking about a little bit, lack of manager, too many Indians and not enough chiefs. Is that the saying?
Yep. Well, the saying is actually the opposite. The saying is actually too many chiefs and not enough Indians. When you have everybody standing around, nothing's getting done. But in this particular case, I would say it's probably the opposite. Too many Indians here with no direction because they ain't got no chief to tell them what to do. And what do the Indians do when they got nothing to do? They wander out in the field and chew peyote.
Well, it got me thinking just about systems this morning. So it seems like an appropriate thing to talk about because, as Paul said, you know, the success of your wholesale business is that you have systems in place to continually bring in wholesale deals, and that we've run through the steps that it takes to get a deal from beginning to end in the wholesale business. And, if you want to make real money at this business and have consistency of cash flow with this business, you have to have a system for each step or each phase of the process. And, what better place to start than opening up your minds to the fact that you need help, whether it's a physical assistant right here on the ground, or it's a transaction coordinator, or a driver, or someone to do your envelopes for your direct mail. One of the things that Paul and I have been utilizing for almost, I'd say, close to 2 years now is the use of a virtual assistant to basically handle all the online tasks and then some projects that we have that doesn't need to be physically here next to us, but can be done from anywhere in the world. And the virtual assistant is a very cost-effective way to get help on a small budget. A virtual assistant costs somewhere between $3.50 to about $5 an hour. And that is something that, most people that are, after you flip your first deal, you can afford to put that into place. So I'm going to toss it back over to Paul kind of to get into what the virtual assistant has done for us and what they can do and how that is an integral part of your wholesale business system. So I think that's a great direction to take it today.
Yeah, well, you started out right there. I was actually going to, from what you were talking about, I was actually going to throw in, first of all, why do you need systems? Hey, it's just, I'm out there just flipping houses, right? But you actually just covered it right there, because you basically said, bottom line, you need help. That's why, because here's the thing. Without systems, you got to do everything, okay? And there's a lot to do. Just in wholesaling, if you're going to get into rehabbing, there's a whole other side of it as well, too. So just in wholesaling itself, though, you've got to have your lead generation. You've got to have something out there that's bringing leads in. You've got to have some sort of contact availability for your leads to make contact with a human being, preferably, but to make contact with something so that they can get information about what it is that you have. You have to have, property evaluation, comping and things like that. You have to have, contract negotiations and landing contracts. You have to have, like John said, transactional coordination as far as getting that contract to a actual paycheck, because there's a whole nother area of things that are going on right there. And if you're the only one that has to do all of this, and you're planning on doing 5-10 deals a year, you better rethink, because by the time you get that first deal and you start working on your second deal, that first deal is going to be throwing crap back at you. Say, hey, don't forget about me over here. I'm having a problem. Come fix me. And and that's what you have to do. You have to drop everything and go fix that. So you need people to fix things that are going to continually be happening. And that's why you need the systems, because you're going to get caught up going one deal at a time. We know, we've been there, even with two of us starting out in this business 4 years ago. Once we started rolling to where we had a system in place that was bringing us lots of leads and deals, every time we'd land a deal or two at the most, it would be like we're all caught up with the back end now, that the front end of getting the next deal died off. So while that dies off and we're working on the back end, all of a sudden now there's a gap that we just created between the last deal that we just closed and the next deal that we're going to start. So that's where, it's going to be, impossible for you to get beyond the guy who does, 1 to 5 deals a year and get up to the person who's doing, 10, 20, 50 a year that you want to be in this business, So that's why you need the systems in the first place.
Absolutely. I will just point out, as I said on past Hangouts, that, you can learn a lot from observing people, working with people who have already failed, let's say that have already tried things that didn't work. I mean, you can learn a lot more by having someone tell you what does doesn't work. You know, when you're new in this business and you're going to go out and you're going to throw mud against the wall and you're going to try all these things, and you know, if you're watching a lot of the current content that's available to teach wholesaling online, it's kind of the old, tired approach. And you know, if you're new at this business, your chances of success are very slim taking the old, tired approach, watching some online programs that are basically telling hundreds of people, thousands even, tens of thousands, to go out and do the same thing. And the secret is, if they're whatever they're teaching you is something that worked for them in the past, and they've already moved on to a new approach, and they're teaching you the old one, which still works, but doesn't have the amount of success as it used to, and by the time it gets in your hands, you're new, you're fresh, you're optimistic, you're going to give it a try, but you don't have the, you know, you don't have enough money to implement the system that they're teaching you the proper way. You just don't understand how the sales and marketing aspects of wholesale really work. Chances are you're going to fail. The best way to learn would be to work with somebody directly that's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and kind of can steer you away from the campaigns and things that don't work. The point that I'm trying to make here is about, shoot, I kind of lost it. But the point I'm trying to make here is about the system. And shoot, Paul, I totally forgot the direction I was taking.
What you're trying to point out there is the fact that it's just as important understanding systems that don't work as much as it is systems that do work. And as a new person starting out, you don't know the difference. And the only way for you to figure it out by yourself without, as you were talking about, you know, getting involved or joining a team or finding a mentor or however you want to word it, with someone who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, as you said, like that, you know, to point you in the direction that does work and away from the direction that doesn't work. Or, you know, because one of the things that you were talking about there, you know, a lot of times, yeah, the systems that are out there, they've already been done, they've already been worked, you know, through the heyday, so to speak. They still work, and they still work for the people who did that, but they've built themselves to the point of being, you know, mass marketers now. They can afford to put out, you know, tons and tons of tens of thousands of dollars of marketing a month, where you can't. And they're still making it big because they can afford to do that, where yes, their system works, but you've got to, you know, realize the relativity of the scale that you're working on compared to what actually works to be the guy who you want to be, you know. So that's kind of, I think, where you wanted to go there.
I did, and you reminded me of the specific thing that I wanted to point out, because this is a mistake that Paul and I made, and you did just touch upon this and then reminded me. I wanted to point the fact out that, yes, when you're doing this on your own and you don't have all the systems in place, you go, you know, and this is exactly what I think Paul and I did a little bit in the beginning. We went out there in the beginning and we did a bunch of marketing. We did a bunch of marketing and some research at the court, and mail out the letters, and then we stopped. What we had implemented and put into place with that, like, little, maybe 6 weeks of gathering and sending out letters. Then Paul had gone back to Tahoe. I had gone back to some paintwork here locally. We stopped with the marketing implementation. About 2 months later, what we had done in this 6 weeks period had brought in some deals to us and some phone calls. We'd actually started making offers. We had gotten 2 deals under contract, and we thought we were the king of the world. But guess what happened? Then we were involved ourselves directly with getting that property contracted, getting that property through title, and then going out and finding buyer and marketing for the buyers for those properties. And then all of a sudden, another couple months went by and no deals. What happened? We didn't have a system. We had a system that we implemented for about 6 weeks, which brought in the 2 deals, but for 3 months, the system of marketing had been shut down. So we didn't have a funnel or a system created to continually have the phones ringing and have people being marketed to. Therefore, we only were able to get 2 deals, and months later. So if you don't have a system and you're doing this all on your own, you're going to have gaps in your deals because you're going to market, then you're going to get a deal, then you're going to concentrate on getting that deal contracted through escrow and sold, and you're going to be stepped away from your marketing. And then all of a sudden you're going to have another lag time. You're going to have to go back out, kick your marketing campaign up to get another deal, and you're just going to go through a cycle of, got a deal, got some money, God, I'm broke again. Yeah, I got a deal, God, I'm broke again, because you got to have everything systemized, and you've got to continually be working the sales funnel. That's kind of what I wanted to point out there. One of our mistakes, and why now it's so important to have a team.
Well, that's, a mistake, yes, but not necessarily, because we were pretty much in a situation that we were forced into that. I mean, we really had no choice. And we did actually immediately after, making some money, while we were, like John says, still trying to work the back end and selling, we immediately our mindset immediately took us towards a system, which we immediately, tried to, we immediately implemented our first system by hiring someone else to step in and do what we were doing prior that brought us the initial deal, and then take that and so that, because we were still actually tied up with the work that we had to go do for another about 3 months. We knew that there was going to be a lag time. So we were looking ahead. We said, hey, listen, we did this work that 2.5 months later generated a deal. Once we get back to this, if we start doing this work, do we want to wait 2.5 months to get another deal? No, let's implement the system now so that when we get back to this, we should be landing a deal. But unfortunately, our lack of system knowledge didn't create a very good one. It was good enough, but it wasn't very polished. And with our lack of system knowledge also, we didn't jump right into honing that system and perfecting that system. And so we just kind of threw this thing together, threw it up on the wall, boom, it stuck. Good, let's run with it. Well, eventually it kind of dried out and fell off the wall. It wasn't no good anymore, So, but when that happened, when it did fall off the wall, that forced us to pick it up, throw some water on it, look at it, see what it was doing, add a few ingredients, make it better, throw it back against the wall and get it to stick again. So it's, just because you are looking at creating a system as well too, even if you have that mindset of, hey, we need some systems in place to do this so we can do this kind of a thing, you here again is an area where you probably need some help. Unless you've created systems before, you're going to want somebody who's been there, done it, and say, hey, look, that's a great idea, the system that you want to create, but you're going to make sure that, you want to do this, that, and the other thing, blah, 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 keep an eye on this, monitor that, all those types of things. So whereas otherwise you might just do like John and I did and say, hey, boom, here's a system. Great. There it is. All right, let's go. What are we doing now? And the system's over there drying up and falling off the wall.
Exactly. Which is, why you need to, in my opinion, if you want to start out in this business, there's no better way to start out than reaching out to people who are in it, doing it, and have gone through a lot of the trials and tribulations. I would say one of the things that has led to our success in this business is that we didn't really know what we were doing or how we were going to do it when when Paul and I had met. But what we did know is that we both wanted to create a new life for ourselves. We both wanted to get out of the construction businesses that we were working, I'm sure, get out of the physical labor, and we both got turned on to the idea that wholesale real estate was a great vehicle because we lacked money and didn't have much time to sit there and contend with rehabs, but we had no problem, going out there, finding deals and start working on contracting properties and flipping them wholesale where you don't have to have any money. But the one thing that I think led to Paul and I's success is that even from the beginning we were both driven, and we were bullheaded enough to say we're going to keep doing this business until we figure out how to make consistent money off these flips, because we could see the power behind it. We could see the amount of money that could be made here. And we, like Paul said, we started right from the beginning after we landed our first 2 deals with, okay, this is what we're doing right now to find leads. We know we've got to have this consistent, and the mailers going out and doing this thing consistently. So rather than Paul and I, after our first deal closed, splitting that money 50-50 and going out and blowing it all and having a good old time, we took actually a very small portion of that money and then reinvested, if you will, probably, I'd imagine now looking back, at least half of it or more immediately into putting a reserve funds away to hire somebody to come in and help keep at that time, what we were doing for our marketing, help keep the marketing consistent and getting out there. And yes, what we were initially doing really needed tweaks and fixing, and we figured out what worked and what didn't work. The point being is, like, we had the mindset from the get-go that we were going to be successful and make this thing happen, and therefore we just immediately knew systems had to be put into place, and we just went for it and immediately started to try to implement things. Not everything we've implemented worked, but we learned what did and what didn't.
Which, that's another beautiful thing about, like you said, teaming up. And I'm gonna is the fact that, yeah, somebody who now knows what works and what doesn't, because it didn't work for us and it ain't gonna work for anybody else because we figured out why it doesn't work. But anyway, the power of a team is huge, because I'm going to go back to what you talked about when we first started out here, the fact that we were driven for success in this business, but I can say for a fact, I don't know about your side, but I can say for a fact, I know for a fact right now that had the 2 of us somehow not teamed up together and had the ability to work together and bounce ideas off each other and pick up each other's slack and support each other and do all these things for each other, that I myself right now would not be sitting here on this hangout. I'd be up in Tahoe right now slinging some asphalt in somebody's driveway. And, sitting there going back to wondering, what the heck can I do to change this life? So the power of a team right there, just in, 2 people joining forces, even though we had, 2 retardedly unknown, we have no clue what the hell we're doing forces that are joining up together, just that power to be able to bounce ideas off each other and start working things was huge. So, I mean, you relate that forward to now a team, so to speak, that's already in place that you can become a part of, that, yeah, you don't even really have to go through that bouncing whole ideas off of each other thing, figuring stuff out. You can just jump right into doing what actually is working. And then, of course, you're going to have ideas that you can bounce around, and who knows, your third brain attached to these 2 could end up coming up with a whole brand new, awesomely, super powerful money generating system that's going to change all of our lives. So I mean, that's just how it works.
Exactly. It's the power of the mastermind. It's one of the basic concepts. If you've ever read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich or listened to the Laws of Success, I mean, he starts the Laws of Success with the mastermind. For those of you who don't know what the heck I'm talking about, Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest success philosophers, I think, in the last 100 years, in my opinion, probably still the greatest of anyone that's come since, created this program called the Laws of Success, and the first thing he talks about is the mastermind. What Paul and I are doing right here with these hangouts, what Paul and I created when we joined forces, unbeknownst to us, is we were forming that mastermind alliances, which is 2 or more people coming together to share and talk about ideas, and in that is the power to see things from outside all of the people involved in the mastermind's perspective, because it allows you to see things from multiple points of views, not just the people in the room, but almost to create like a larger consciousness amongst the group. So I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And it all started because Paul brought up the fact that we had a virtual assistant.
Who actually, in actuality, like you talked about here, sort of how we revamped the system that we started after our first deals there with Kate, our virtual assistant. That poor girl, we've put her through hell. She's been through from one system to another, to a change in this one, to a total revamp of that one, to here's a side project to go along with it, but the whole time there's been kind of a one core system that she's been working on. But I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride for her. And I would say that now, actually, what the changes that we made today with Kate after the 2 years that she's been with us are probably, this close now to being perfected, to the point of, hey, maybe a little tiny tweak here and a little tweak there, but that's how long it takes to create a system sometimes, when you don't know what the heck you're doing. And literally 2 years since we hired her, because we hired her to do the piece that she's still doing pretty much. And of course, we've added another piece to it as well. So, I mean, it's just crazy that, having to figure out and build systems of your own from the very beginning is, there's a very cool saying that I think comes from Andrew Carnegie, or is it? Yeah, Andrew, yeah, Dale Andrew. I always get those two confused. Yeah, Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate of the U.S. Steel. But his thing was, he says that prospecting doesn't pay. In other words, starting something new from scratch doesn't pay. Why bother with all that? Take something that's working and just freaking do it. And so creating your own systems, yeah, it doesn't pay. And we're living proof. It didn't really pay for 3 years until now. It's really starting to pay. It paid enough to keep us alive and keep us going, but it didn't pay to take us ahead to where we anticipated that we would be going, after that first year. It paid to keep us alive. That was it. But prospecting doesn't pay. Why go out and recreate the wheel, as they say, when you could just freaking plug into the wall and it's spinning? So that's the power, and that's the difficulty, the challenges, why you need systems, what systems can do for you, why it's better to plug in than to create, why you are going to be a whole lot happier, a whole lot sooner by joining a team, plugging into something that's already in place. So that's, I guess that's today's show. Systems and masterminds and teamwork and all that fun stuff right there, which really, really is wholesale real estate.
I think you said it all there, Paul, and because you said it so well, why don't you go ahead and end us with the prayer today?
Oh, universe, I ask, not for more riches, but for more wisdom with which to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever end I might desire. Everybody have a great Wednesday. We'll see you back here on Freedom Friday, and you're just going to be blown away because it's Freedom Friday and we go off, brother.